Somewhere in your wallet, or more likely your phone, is a number. That number can buy you food, shelter, a plane ticket, or mild social status at brunch. And here's the strange part. That number isn't backed by anything. No gold sitting in a vault with your name on it. No cow tied up somewhere as collateral. Just trust. A shared agreement that this number means something. Here's where it gets weirder. You were probably taught that money was invented to fix a problem, the barter problem. Once upon a time, so the story goes, a farmer with wheat wanted shoes, but the shoemaker didn't want wheat that week, so everyone stood around awkwardly until someone invented money to fix it. That story is almost certainly false. Not simplified. False. Anthropologists have spent decades looking for a society that ran primarily on barter before using money, and they can't find one. Not one. What they find instead is something much stranger. Debt. Let's actually walk through how this happened. Long before coins, long before shells as currency, human communities ran on memory and obligation. You caught a fish, your neighbor didn't. You gave them some anyway. Not as a trade, as a favor. Now they owe you one. Nobody wrote it down because everyone already knew. Anthropologists call this a human economy. Not because it involves humans, obviously, but because it runs entirely on relationships instead of prices. You didn't need money. You needed a community small enough that everyone remembered who owed who a chicken. This worked fine for tiny groups. It falls apart the moment you're trading with a stranger you'll never see again, who has zero social incentive to remember, let alone repay, your favor. So somewhere along the way, humans needed a way to formalize, I owe you, into something transferable. Something that didn't rely on trusting a specific person's memory or morals. Enter debt, written down. The earliest financial records we've ever found, clay tablets from ancient Mesopotamia, over 5,000 years old, aren't records of trades at all. They're records of debts. Who owes the temple how much grain? Who owes a neighbor how many goats? Money, in its earliest form, wasn't a physical object changing hands. It was a number in a ledger. But a ledger only works if everyone trusts the record keeper. So civilizations needed something portable, something that carried its value with it, independent of anyone's memory or honesty. Cattle worked for a while. The word capital literally comes from capita, Latin for heads of cattle. Salt worked too. Roman soldiers were reportedly paid partly in salt, which is where we get the word salary. Shells worked in parts of Africa and Asia for centuries. All of these are what economists call commodity money, things valuable enough, on their own, that people would accept them in exchange for nearly anything. Metal solved commodity money's biggest flaw. A cow can die. Salt can spill. But a chunk of gold or silver doesn't rot, doesn't run away, and can be divided into smaller and smaller pieces without losing value. Around 600 BC, in the Kingdom of Lydia, modern-day Turkey, someone had the idea to standardize this. Stamp a chunk of metal with an official seal, guaranteeing its weight and purity. No more weighing gold on a scale for every single transaction. The first true coins were born, and the idea spread across the ancient world almost immediately, because it solved a problem everyone already had. Coins were a massive upgrade, but they were also heavy. Try carrying a small fortune in gold coins across a country, and you'll understand why. A few centuries later, in Tang Dynasty China, merchants started doing something clever, leaving their heavy coins with a trusted merchant in one city and taking a paper receipt instead. That receipt could be redeemed for the coins later, or better yet, just traded directly to someone else who trusted the same merchant. Paper money was never really about the paper. It was a receipt for trust. By the Song Dynasty, the Chinese government took this further and did something nobody had really done before. Printed money backed by nothing except government authority. No gold redemption required. Just an official decree that this piece of paper has value because we say it does. This is the birth of what's called fiat currency. And yes, fiat comes from Latin for let it be done. Money by decree. For most of the world, though, paper money still stayed tethered to something physical for centuries. Nations operated on what's called the gold standard. Your government's paper currency could, in theory, be walked into a bank and exchanged for an actual physical amount of gold. This gave people confidence. The paper wasn't just trust, It was a claim ticket for something real sitting in a vault somewhere. Then, in 1971, that connection was severed. Facing economic pressure, President Nixon suspended the ability to convert US dollars into gold. It was supposed to be temporary. It never went back. And just like that, every major currency on Earth became what economists call fiat money in the fullest sense. Not backed by gold, not backed by silver, not backed by anything except collective belief that other people will accept it tomorrow. Which brings us to today, where money has gone through its strangest transformation yet. It's mostly stopped existing physically at all. The vast majority of money in the modern economy isn't sitting in a vault or a wallet. It's a number in a database, adjusted when you tap a card, moved between banks through systems most of us have never seen and couldn't explain. Physical cash now makes up a small fraction of the total money supply in most developed economies. The rest is quite literally just numbers agreed upon by computers talking to other computers. And then, in 2009, someone tried something genuinely new. Money that didn't require trusting a government, a bank, or a company at all. Bitcoin proposed a currency backed entirely by math and a public, unchangeable record shared across thousands of computers, so no single authority could fake or control it. Whether or not you think it succeeded, it's the first real attempt in 5,000 years to build money on trustless code instead of trusted institutions. So here's the real story. Money was never really about solving the awkwardness of trading a chicken for shoes. It was always about something much bigger. How do strangers, who will never fully trust each other, agree on what has value? Every stage we just walked through, debt, cattle, salt, coins, paper, gold, decree, digital numbers, code, is really just humanity solving the exact same problem, over and over, in a slightly more abstract way each time. The dollar in your pocket, or the number on your banking app, isn't valuable because of gold, or the government, or even the paper it's printed on. It's valuable because millions of strangers, most of whom will never meet you, have collectively agreed to keep pretending it is. That agreement is, genuinely, one of the largest coordinated acts of trust in human history, and most of us have never thought about it once. So next time you tap your card for a coffee, remember, you didn't just buy a coffee. You just participated in a 5,000-year-old shared hallucination that happens to work extremely well. What do you think replaces money next? Drop your prediction below.